Good afternoon, that's Media Center of Ukraine, Odessa. We are happy to welcome Ministers of Defense of Ukraine and the Republic of Bulgaria, Oleksii Reznikov and Todor Tagarev. Thank you for being here with us, Mr. Oleksii. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad to be in this media center again. That's pleasant and that's always inspiring. That's already trend. That's when I'm here on the press conference. It means that somebody from dearest friend is here in Ukraine, on south of Ukraine, and today I am glad to welcome Minister of Defense of the Republic of Bulgaria, friend of Ukraine, Todor Tagarev. I should say that Mr. Todor is closely acknowledged with Ukraine, and when he used to be a counselor from the side of our partners, he used to help us a lot in terms of defense planning, so he has very powerful expertise, and that's very valuable for us, and it is very important for us to have Todor Tagarev today, the Minister of Defense of the Republic of Bulgaria. That gives us additional pluses and perspective of his personality. I would like to extend my gratitude to Minister of Defense of the Republic of Bulgaria, to people of Bulgaria, government of Bulgaria, for those decisions which they took on the behalf of the Ukraine, for the matter of fact that they help us to stand for our territorial integrity, that they care about our sovereignty. They are not our neighbors, and they know the difference between good neighbor and bad neighbor. I would like to recall that the delegation from the Bulgarian side is permanently present in the contact group for defense of Ukraine, which is well known for you as Rammstein Club, and our bilateral relationship are always developing. During our today's meeting with Mr. Minister, we for sure discussed current security situation which is taking place on the battlefield, and for sure Azov Black Sea region in particular. We've also discussed prospective access of our bilateral cooperation as of today and for future, including reinforcement of air defense and missile defense, development of capabilities of the armed forces of Ukraine and defense forces via possible provision of additional systems, equipment, material, technical assets, and ammunition. We've also discussed an option of training of Ukrainian service people by Bulgarian side and cooperation with our partners in the framework of different programs of the European community, including possibility of rehabilitation of our wounded and injured service members on the territory of the Republic of Bulgaria. And I'm extremely happy to mark involvement, particular involvement and intention and energy of Mr. Todor. And now we know and appreciate decision of the Bulgarian government to join to the joint statement of G7 states for long-term guarantees for Ukraine. As you know, it was firstly proclaimed after Vilnius summit, and it was open to join, and today the government of Bulgaria claimed about this officially. Moreover, for us, it is very important to have the decision of the Bulgarian government to join EU program to provide Ukraine with 155 caliber, which are extremely needed by us to repel aggression from the side of the Russian Federation. I would like to extend my gratitude for the second package of military aid which was given to us and was necessary to reinforce capabilities of our armed forces of Ukraine. For sure, we've discussed a lot perspectives, because we have our joint interests as minimum 4 countries, Ukraine, Bulgaria, Romania, and Turkey, in terms of security of Black Sea and Sea of Azov, because that's a matter of joint future, freedom of shipment, and cooperation between neighboring countries after our victory, aiming to provide the civilized world with all those capacities produced by all 4 countries to the rest of the world. I'm talking about different agricultural production and other stuff. For sure, one more challenge is mining of the waters of the Black Sea, and we've discussed possible future ways to demine this territory to use means and assets of Bulgaria and of Ukraine, and also future assets which will belong to Ukraine and the Republic of Bulgaria. Therefore, matter of security in the region of Black Sea and in Europe is extremely important for us. So thanks again, Mr. Todor, and I'm giving the word to you.
I want to express the deep gratitude of the leadership of the Ministry of Defense of Bulgaria for the hospitality extended to us during the visit, and to stress the significance of face-to-face interactions in bolstering our bilateral cooperation. This is my third meeting with Minister Reznikov, and in 2 months, and one online meeting, and they have all been very useful. In light of the Russian aggression against Ukraine, we find ourselves in a profoundly altered security environment, as the foundations of the European security architecture, once we knew it, were shattered on February 24th last year. We stand shoulder to shoulder with Ukraine, actively backing its legitimate defense against the Russian military aggression. We firmly support Ukraine's right to restore its territorial integrity and sovereignty within the internationally recognized borders. The recent visit of Ukrainian representatives on political and expert level to Bulgaria, and the proceedings of the Ukraine Defense Contact Group and the NATO-Ukraine Council underscore our ongoing dialogue and unwavering support for Ukraine's defense efforts. Through channels like NATO, European Union, United Nations, and direct bilateral initiatives, Bulgaria continues to provide comprehensive political, humanitarian, and military support to Ukraine. This includes enhancing Ukraine's defense capabilities and training its armed forces, aligning with decisions made by our Parliament and Council of Ministers. Ukraine's Euro-Atlantic integration holds our unwavering support, with the recent NATO summit in Vilnius marking a crucial milestone in elevating practical cooperation and political ties. We have consistently provided humanitarian assistance, combat equipment, and ammunition since the war's onset. Recent Bulgarian decisions to provide armament and ammunition underscore our enduring commitment. Our decision to join the G7 countries in providing long-term security support to Ukraine, as conveyed in the joint declaration, reflects our dedication to ensuring Ukraine's stability. NATO's commitment to reinforcing its partnership with Ukraine through practical cooperation resonates deeply with the Bulgarians. The decision to transition Ukraine's membership process from a two-step to a one-step process reaffirms Ukraine's place in the Euro-Atlantic family. We fully endorse the comprehensive assistance package for Ukraine, designed to assist in post-war reconstruction, institution building, and enhancing interoperability. Our resolve and resolute commitment extends to leveraging all available EU instruments. We are proponents of further tranches and specialized Ukraine Defense Fund within the European Peace Facility assistance measures. The EU military mission to Ukraine remains pivotal, with our contribution aimed at urgent training activities for the Ukrainian armed forces. Our commitment is exemplified by our instructors for tank training and staff officers within the command structure. We are also exploring expanded contributions based on Ukrainian needs via thematic coalitions. Russia's unilateral termination of the Black Sea Grain Initiative, missile attacks, and the establishment of new risk zones demand strong condemnation. The escalation of tensions caused by Russia's provocative actions in blocking Ukrainian grain exports is a grave concern. These actions only heighten the risks of incident and impede free navigation. Our coordination with Black Sea allies Romania and Turkey is aimed at bolstering vigilance and situational awareness. Maritime patrol aircraft and unmanned aerial vehicles play a pivotal role in this regard. Our naval forces have intensified efforts to detect floating sea mines, ensuring safe passage for commercial ships in the Black Sea. Our commitment remains resolute and firm, built on the foundation of shared values and historical ties dating back centuries. Our historical and cultural bonds with Ukraine are unbreakable and part of our identity. We are not just allies, we are comrades bound by shared history. Thank you.
Дякую. Давайте перейдемо до запитань.
Thank you. Let us shift to questions. 1+1 channel has one. Sergei Ossadchuk, 1+1. I have a question, if it's possible, to clarify a little bit in terms of demining program. I know that there is a center where specialists from different countries will be involved. Maybe you already have something done. And the second question, in terms of armored vehicles, of Soviet samples, I know that Bulgaria has a lot of such equipment. And what is the phase of this matter? So let me talk about demining. I should say that we don't have details which we may inform you on right now. We discussed that that is joint challenge for all 4 countries. And today we discussed what we are already doing, and Mr. Minister observed equipment which is being used by our naval force, by our marine center. We discussed development of capabilities for demining. I should recall you that we received 2 mine hunters from the United Kingdom. They are already under flag of Ukraine, together with crews. They are passing through training, and our ending of this warfare, in accordance with Montreux Convention, these ships will be able to turn back to the Black Sea. And the minister also told that they have some kind of plans for development of this cooperation. They also have mine hunters. We discussed that we are going to begin this development of joint attempt of all 4 countries. As far as I know, Mr. Minister is going to meet Minister of Defense of Romania, so we already have a topic for discussion, and later on, in the framework of Ramstein meeting, we will be able to discuss furthermore this question. But right now we have a matter of demining in Black Sea. In Ramstein, we have already this coalition under leadership of Minister of Lithuania, plus Minister of Foreign Affairs and Ministry of Defense of Ireland, which represents foreign direction of the agency. So there we have some needs. But today we discussed needs in the Black Sea.
Is a continuous mission of the Bulgarian Navy in the territorial waters of Bulgaria. What we are currently discussing, the needs for enhanced cooperation among the littoral states, and once the war is over, also how we'll assure that initially the main sea traffic lines are clean, and then other portions of the Black Sea, and how we would be working together in this regard. The question on the armored vehicles, indeed, we offered over 100 pieces of armored personnel carriers of Soviet design, which were and still are in the inventory of the Ministry of the Interior. That slows a little bit down the process, because we needed to sign an agreement between the Ministry of Interior of Bulgaria and the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, and this agreement needs to be ratified by Parliament. When the Parliament gets back into session in September, this will be, I'm informed, one of their priority tasks. Hopefully, by the end of September or early October, we'll have the agreement ratified by Parliament, and then the actual transfer of these APCs can start.
Ні, я перепрошую, там було питання.
The question from NPR.
Is this on? Working? Thank you for taking my question. I have two questions. First for both ministers, and then one for Mr. Reznikov in particular. First, have either of your ministries been alerted that other ships, commercial vessels, are likely to attempt the journey through the Black Sea, given the security situation as it exists now? And also, my second question is, to the extent that you can do so safely, could you give your assessment of the sector around Kupiansk at this time, if it's appropriate and if you can do so with security?
Maybe I start. First one. Well, it's not only one ship that has gone from Ukraine south to the Bosphorus. I was on the Bulgarian TV a couple of days ago and I asked for information for the previous 48 hours. And I got the report that over 100 ships have been passing in both directions. So traffic is not stopping. Of them, only a couple were Ukrainian ships. But I believe that this will continue in the future. And some precautions are taken that this passage is as safe as possible. And we hope that there will be no provocations by Russian naval vessels.
And so far there have been no provocations?
There is one very well-known case from the previous weekend, but no other so far.
Я додам з приводу
I would like to add to your question about passage of ships. I would like to recall that's important that in April 2022 there were very important historical event in the history of humankind. For the second time in 100 years, the flagship of the Russian naval fleet was sent to the bottom. For the first time, it was near Tsushima during Japan-Russian warfare, and the second time, Black Sea in the vicinity of Crimea, Russian-Ukrainian warfare, and it was done by Ukrainian Neptune missiles. Afterwards, Ukrainian naval force and our fleet was reinforced by powerful weaponry from partners, anti-ship Harpoon missiles. And as of today, the Russian fleet is not in the area of 100 naval miles from Ukrainian shore. And de facto, they are trying to hide their fleet closer to Novorossiysk, to Kerch, and from there they are inflicting terroristic missile attacks against civilian infrastructure. Why I'm talking about this? Because today this example of passage of the ship from Ukraine to Bosphorus and Dardanelles, it was done through territorial waters of Ukraine alongside the shores, through territorial waters of Romania, Bulgaria, and Turkey. It is difficult to imagine that Russians are so crazy and dare to attack ships in 3 NATO countries, namely Romania, Bulgaria, and Turkey. Therefore, we have first successful example, and we are doing this for humanitarian purpose. Up to 40 million tons, 30-something million tons of grains, sunflower oil, and different goods and products were delivered from Ukraine to Africa states and to Pacific Asia region. We are giving food to population of the earth. Therefore, this grain corridor mission is extremely important, and other countries are supporting us. I have hope and I have optimistic assess that in future we will be able to provide delivery of Ukrainian food to the world countries.
і вибачте,
Excuse me, in terms of Kupiansk, I'm not going to comment it because that's the military case, the situation is changeable. The one I may tell that they are trying to offend there in order to decrease capability of Ukrainian defense force on our counter-offensive axis. That's their hope. They are trying in this way to force us to withdraw our forces from south and to react on this. But in parallel, as you know, on the east we are successful. We are moving in the vicinity and around Bakhmut, and we are trying to encircle Bakhmut. Therefore, the enemy is redeploying its reserves there. But that's the war. Thank you.
Zarina, name yourself, please, and ask a question.
Zarina Zabriskie, Byline Times, London. So the question is for Mr. Tagarev. Recently, on August 18th, you have mentioned that you are not ruling out the clash between NATO and Russia in face of escalation in the Black Sea region. So what concrete measures is your country prepared to take to ensure the security in the region? And another question is on the information warfare, because we all know that the Russian Federation is very eager on pushing the Kremlin narratives in Bulgaria. And it's also a matter of defense. So what is your action plan there? Thank you.
Yes, from that interview, they took out something which wasn't the main topic of the interview. But anyway, yes, as the leadership of a defense establishment in the armed forces is not allowed the liberty to rely on its wishful thinking. We are all the time examining different scenarios, realistic scenarios for the development of the situation, and from those that are plausible, take the heaviest one and try to prepare for the heaviest one, while in the meantime seeking ways to not to provoke escalation and to neutralize such developments. In this particular case, we work with our allies, we work with NATO, we are taking our national measures and do what's in our capacity. But Bulgaria enjoys the guarantees of NATO, the ally, the whole alliance. So we are not really worried. What we may worry us is the fact that any unprovoked military activity by the Russian Navy can have an impact on civilian assets. Regarding the information space, this is a difficult question. I wouldn't say that we have the full concept and the full design in place, but we understand very well the problem. We have the support by several of our allies. We are building STRATCOM capabilities and work with allies to mitigate the influence of the Russian propaganda, which is unfortunately still pretty strong in our country. As a defense minister, I'm taking measures in the area that's in my responsibility and the capacity that is available to me, understanding at the same time that the effective countering of disinformation campaigns and propaganda requires whole of government and even the whole of society approach, and we're working towards it.
Thank you. There is a question from the journalist of Ukrainian Review. That's Ukrainian English-speaking publishment.
To you, Mr. Todorov, will Ukraine support, will Bulgarian government support the Ukrainian entrance to NATO with a quicker procedure, with a more swift procedure?
Of the Vilnius summit, Bulgaria supported exactly that position, that once the circumstances afford it, basically that means once the armed hostilities are over, Ukraine should have a very clear and quick path to NATO, but you know that decisions in NATO are taken by a full consensus, and we supported the final text of the Vilnius Declaration regarding the future of Ukraine. That includes eliminating the step with the membership action plan. And that's what I refer to, a one-step approach for Ukraine to join the NATO.
Дякую. Є два
Thank you. There are two short questions, Inter and Radio Svoboda. Just one by one and then answers. Andriy, Anastas, Inter, have question to Mr. Tagarev. Today you told about assistance from Bulgarian side with old Soviet equipment. Could you elaborate a little bit on military support which your country may give to Ukraine in the nearest future in half a year? And I have a question to Oleksii Yuryevich. Could you tell about F-16, about numbers and timing? And if we are talking about 24, 25 years, does it mean that we have understanding that the warfare will last until 2025? And in general terms, what configuration of armament will be the most efficient for Ukraine? For which kind of equipment are we waiting from our partners?
Yes, the Bulgarian military still relies to a significant extent on legacy equipment of Soviet designs. The good news for Ukraine is that it is compatible with a lot of equipment Ukrainian armed forces are using and ammunitions that are usable immediately. We were able to deliver some of that equipment to Ukraine already. We are continuing to analyze requests from the Ukrainian side coming from different channels, including during our meeting earlier today. And we will see what is possible to provide from the military inventories. Probably more important from the material side, because everything is important, training, diplomatic, political support, and so on. But on the material side is the capacity of the Bulgarian defense industry. And traditionally in the Soviet times, the Bulgarian defense industry specialized on small arms, light weapons, and ammunition. Compared to size, we have an enormous amount of factories and production capacity. And as it became public knowledge at some time last year or earlier this year, Bulgaria has provided crucial support for Ukraine in the first months of the war. And now many of our factories are working 24/7 to meet demands of the current war. That has the full support of the current government, and we are willing even to provide the opportunity for companies to circumvent all the intermediaries and to sell directly to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry or companies that the Ukrainian Defense Ministry designates for that purpose.
Thank you for your question. For the first glance, it might sound on time, but de facto it is quite doctrinal and philosophical, therefore the answer may be a little bit longer. In terms of aircrafts, during the visit of the President Zelensky to several countries which already have been announced, there were several news. The first one was that officially the United States gave permission to two countries, to the Denmark and the Netherlands, not only to train pilots for F-16, but also for future delivery of aircraft. And it is extremely important because we may not teach pilots, engineers, and technicians having no assurances that we will have aircrafts. And therefore, during the visit of the President Zelensky, the whole world and these two countries, particular countries, received this message. And there will be some number which they're ready to deliver. But my idea is not to focus on this number because that's just beginning. I would like to recall that aircraft coalition in Vilnius was joined by 11 countries, and I was joking that it was Ocean 11, 11 friends of ocean, but coalition is rising and expanding, and it is open for other countries to join, and several countries are ready. Nowadays they are working with procedures of their parliaments and decisions of government, and later on this decision will be done. By the way, this coalition includes not only those countries which do have aircraft F-16, but also those countries which are involved in training, preparation, assistance with infrastructure. I mean, Canada, for example, because here we should have very serious approach, infrastructure, engineers, technicians, language training. And the most important is to remember that aircraft is just an air platform. It is very important what it is carrying, which types of missiles, bombs, or any other assets and samples of weaponries, and in this coalition countries will take commitments to provide us with such types of weaponry in order to make this aircraft efficient. There is no sense to talk about number of aircrafts. We already have quite big number, but we are going to have more. And what is important, and that's a shift to the second part of your question. Today we've already begun to work with a so-called future force concept of future defense force of Ukraine. We've already begun to discuss this with partners, with Lloyd Austin at the head of Pentagon. We continue this discussion. We are going to discuss it on the next meeting in the Ramstein format. We completed our defense capability review. It has been completed, and together with our partners we discussed the vision of the future army of Ukraine, because our partners from Europe and NATO countries in their horizon of long-term planning should understand what should they plan for their budgets, for their industrial defense complex, in development of their defense forces, because we already have something which Ukraine have on the highest level rather than any other army in the world. For example, we have a lot of NATO weaponry, which allows us to provide for high level of interoperability. But once again, today, for example, we have artillery, Bor artillery 120, that's former Soviet, 152 as well, former Soviet, and that's it. From NATO we have 105 and 155. Manufacturers of our partner states mostly produce 105 and 155. We have friendly state of Bulgaria which are still dealing with 152. But that should be pivotal decision, which kind of artillery should we have in the defense force, because we have one kind good for us. So my estimate is that the base caliber for future artillery will be 155, and it will concern everything: fleet, aircraft, aviation, land force, special operation force, fleet, which we've already begun to discuss. And we have our partners, the Kingdom of the Netherlands, Belgium. We today discussed demining. But security in Black Sea doesn't mean only demining, as well joint patrol and duty in the Black Sea, which means that we will need fleet for this. Therefore, Mr. Admiral Nish Papa took part in our meeting, and he elaborated on his view on our fleet and what we will do in future with it. We didn't change our priorities. First priority is air defense. We have to increase the network of protection of Ukrainian sky. We have to protect big agglomerations, Odessa, Kharkiv, Dnipro, Lviv, and so on, step by step. And every axis has its complexities, beginning with powerful Patriot, NASAMS, IRC, SAMP-T systems, and up to critical infrastructure protection elements like Gepards, Krotals, Manpads, Stingers, Star Treeks, and Stugnas. Stugnas are anti-tanks, and so on, so on, so on. The second point is armor. Therefore, today I mentioned that 155 is a huge project of the EU. The Republic of Bulgaria joined to this project, which means that their industry will also work over it. And more artillery to this ammunition, modern 155 artillery. The third point, all types of armored vehicles, APCs, IFVs, tanks, and crucial moment, armed medivacs. Those vehicles which will help us to evacuate our wounded people from the battlefield via different categories A, B, C. That's also our needs today and right now for this victory. Another one point, training of our service people in different programs, in different directions. Today, this warfare is probably the last one which is being waged exclusively in the battlefield. It's half future warfare, because that's a warfare of UAVs, naval, land and aerial UAVs, and it means that Russians are also moving in this axis, and terrorist states are also doing this. Therefore, on the interest of the whole civilized world is to find a solution for CUAV, so-called electronic warfare, and at the same time to create UAVs for reconnaissance, for demining, assault drones, so that the whole spectrum of objectives which we are trying to figure out, and partners are helping us. But that's also a challenge for our partners, because they realize that it will also have an impact on their defense concepts. Therefore, this question is very, very serious but cool, raised by you. Thank you.
Прес-конференцію. Дякую, що завітали до нас.
Thank you for the press conference. Thank you for your question. That's it. We should have to finalize, and I hope to see you soon here. So, Mr. Minister, welcome to visit Ukraine once again.